When war divided his people, he chose the nation. History is still arguing why.
When Biafra declared independence in 1967, the world saw a united Igbo people fighting for survival. But history is never that simple. Hidden in the shadows of this epic conflict is the story of an Igbo man, a high-ranking military officer who made an unthinkable choice. While his kinsmen fought for a new nation, he fought to preserve the very country they were trying to leave. Was he a traitor who abandoned his people in their darkest hour? Or was he a patriot who saw a future that others couldn't? This is the story of Ojukwu, the Igbo man who fought against Biafra. To understand his decision, we have to go back to 1966. Nigeria was on fire. A military coup in January, followed by a violent counter-coup in July, had unleashed a storm of ethnic hatred. Across northern Nigeria, Igbos were hunted and killed in brutal pogroms. Thousands fled back to the eastern region, their homeland, with horrific stories of survival. The trust that held Nigeria together was shattered. For many Igbos, there was only one path left. On May 30th, 1967, the military governor of the eastern region, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, declared the independent Republic of Biafra. It seemed like every Igbo man, woman, and child stood behind him. But that's not the whole truth. Enter Ojukwu. He was a professional soldier, a product of the Nigerian Defense Academy and the prestigious Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in the UK. He was a career officer, and for him, the army was his life. When Biafra was declared, Ojukwu faced the most difficult choice of his career. Should he join his fellow Igbo officers and fight for the new Biafran dream? Or should he remain loyal to the federal military government of Nigeria, the very institution some of his people now saw as the enemy? He chose Nigeria. Why? Why would an Igbo man turn his back on Biafra, especially after witnessing the slaughter of his people? Nwachukwu's reasoning, shared quietly by a number of other Igbo officers who stayed, was built on a foundation of professional duty and a deep fear of what came next. First and foremost was his loyalty to the Nigerian state. He had sworn an oath to defend Nigeria, not a specific ethnic group. He believed that once an army fractures along ethnic lines, the nation itself is finished. For him, the integrity of the military was paramount to the survival of the country. His second reason was a terrifying vision of the future. He feared that Biafra's secession wouldn't be the end of the conflict, but the beginning of endless fragmentation. If the East could break away, what was to stop the North from splitting? Or the West? He saw a future where Nigeria would dissolve into a chaotic patchwork of warlord states, locked in perpetual civil wars. In his eyes, Biafra wasn't a path to liberation, but a dangerous precedent that could doom the entire region to generations of bloodshed. Finally, his decision was rooted in his professional military doctrine. Unlike Ojukwu, who was a political leader as well as a military man, Nwachukwu saw secession as a political failure that required a political solution, not a military one. He believed that the problems facing the Igbo people needed to be solved from within the Nigerian system, not by destroying it. He chose to stay and fight for reform inside the tent, rather than burn the tent down from the outside. Throughout the brutal 3-year civil war, Nwachukwu served in the Nigerian army. He held command and staff positions and never wavered in his loyalty to the federal government. He survived the war, both politically and militarily, a fate not shared by many of his contemporaries who had joined the Biafran cause. It's crucial to note that while he fought for Nigeria, historical records do not link him to any war crimes or genocidal policies. His fight was against secession, not against the Igbo people themselves, a distinction that is vital for understanding his legacy. After the war ended in January 1970 with Biafra's surrender, Nigeria's head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, declared a policy of no victor, no vanquished. The goal was reconciliation and reintegration. Ike Nwachukwu's career became the ultimate test of this policy. If Nigeria truly wanted to heal, how would it treat an Igbo man who had stayed loyal? The answer came swiftly. Nwachukwu's career flourished. He rose through the ranks to become a major general. He was appointed Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, a top cabinet position, effectively becoming the face and voice of Nigeria to the rest of the world. He later served as Minister of Labor and even as an ambassador. His post-war success proves he was not seen as a double agent or a man to be watched, but as a stabilizing figure whose loyalty to the nation was absolute. He was a bridge, a symbol that Igbos still had a place at the highest levels of power in a united Nigeria. But even today, his legacy is fiercely debated. His critics have a powerful and emotional argument. He betrayed his people when they were being slaughtered. They point to the pogroms, to the millions who starved during the blockade of Biafra, and they ask, how could any man of conscience side with the oppressors? For them, the fight for Biafra was a moral imperative, a righteous act of self-defense, and Ojukwu was on the wrong side of history. However, his supporters see it very differently. They argue that he chose nation over tribe, principle over sentiment. They believe Nigeria needed influential Igbo voices inside the federal system to protect the interests of their people. A total withdrawal of all Igbos from the Nigerian state, they argue, would have led to their permanent marginalization. By staying, Ojukwu ensured that there was a path for Igbo reintegration after the war. His survival and success became a symbol of hope for a unified future. This brings us to the core question that his life forces us to confront. Where does true loyalty lie? Is it with your ethnic group, your tribe, your kin? Or is it with the nation-state, the flag, the Constitution? When your people face oppression, is the only answer to leave and form your own nation? Or is there value in staying to fight, to reform the system from within, even when it feels hopeless? Nwachukwu's story doesn't give us an easy answer. When his people chose Biafra, he chose Nigeria. And history is still arguing over whether he was a traitor or a patriot. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive into a forgotten corner of history interesting, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that challenge the narratives we think we know. Thanks for watching.